Good afternoon, Gator families. If we haven't met, my name is Alexander Keene, and I am one of the English Language Arts teachers for the 7th grade here at Whitewater Middle School. I do have the privilege of working with the full virtual academy this year. Woo! But the things that I'm going to discuss in this video do apply to students in all of our courses. Each week I do plan on making one of these videos to give you some information about what's happening in language arts class and update you on what might be coming up in the week to come, so you can help your student prepare and stay on track as we move through virtual learning. It's important to note that your student's teacher might be a lesson or two ahead or behind of what I'm talking about in this video, but generally speaking, these broad strokes do hold true. If you want to discuss things with your teacher, you're more than welcome to reach out to any of us at any time. Before we get into what on this week and what's going to happen next week, I'd like to provide you with some web resources that might be useful for you as you are supporting your student through virtual learning. First off is a link to Canvas. Canvas, of course, is where we're doing all of our coursework this year for all of our students' classes. This link, some students have been finding to be a little bit more reliable than logging in directly through NC Cloud, especially when NC Cloud is down, because you can use this link to log in through Google. The second link is to Parent Square, which is probably how you found my video in the first place, but just in case, Parent Square is a program that teachers are going to use this year to communicate with parents, also administrators. There's whole lots of great information coming out through Parent Square. If you haven't set up your notification settings yet for that, I recommend you do so as soon as it's convenient. Third on the list is a link to Sora, which is the web app where our copies of the novel are located so that students have access to them anytime and any place. And finally, I've recorded readings of the first couple chapters, in the novel, and you can find those on YouTube at the link that I provided there. More chapters recordings will be going up very soon. This week in language arts, students spent several days learning about perspective and point of view and narration. We talked a lot about why those skills are important, both in terms of language arts and just relationships with people in real life. We also spent a good deal of time talking about the way that setting can influence plot and the way that setting can influence characters in a story, and how we can use those tools to help us understand a complex text more easily. In the novel we've been reading, A Long Walk to Water, we've gotten through the first 4 or 5 chapters, depending on where your student's teacher is in the curriculum. By the time that we get back to school on Monday, all students should have been exposed at least through chapter 5. Speaking of next week, we're going to start off next week with a quick review of main idea and point of view before we take our first mid-unit assessment on Tuesday, September 1st. Again, we're going to have our first formal assessment, our first formal test for language arts on next Tuesday. This test will focus on vocabulary strategies and the techniques that the author of the novel used to establish and develop her character's point of view. If you'd like to help your student prepare for this test, the best thing to do is review their notes from this past week. One of our organizers is structured very similarly to a large section of the test. For extra help, you might want to ask your student to describe the point of view of the main character in the next movie or TV show that you watch together. If they can describe what motivates the character and how your student knows that that's their motivation, they'll be in a pretty good place to take that assessment. Of course, there's more going on with point of view and perspective than just motivation, but that's a good place to start. Later this week, meaning after Wednesday, we'll begin working on how we understand the difference between main idea and theme, with a special emphasis on analyzing how a theme is developed throughout a story. As a final note, grades are going to start showing up in PowerSchool over the next week or so as Canvas begins to sync with our grade books. If you're concerned about your students' performance in class, you should not hesitate to reach out to your teacher. We would love to hear from you and provide some feedback and strategies as those things are appropriate. From all of us here at Whitewater, I want to thank you for your family's hard work and dedication over the past couple weeks. We know that there's been quite a learning curve with virtual learning. The 7th grade team appreciates all of your effort and all of your patience, and we know that your student does too, even if it might be a little bit deep down. I hope you have a great weekend, and until next time, be well and do good.